Johnny, good to have you back on here, sir. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, now first things first, the new album In Stitches is out. Well, I guess today, since this is coming out next Friday, which is the 12th, and that
It-
is still the
yeah,
release
yeah,
date, right?
exactly. It
Okay.
comes out the 12th. Yep.
Perfect. And that's via Sun Crew, and that's CRU, Sun
Correct.
CRU
Yeah.
records. So go and stream it right now. And yeah, the last time you were on here, we were discussing how you moved out to California, and that's kind of where we left it. You moved out here, and you were getting things back in order in terms of music. Now, how that's kind of where we left it. Where do we take it from there? How do you get back into music?
Yeah. Well, it's a really interesting question. I feel like music is the type of thing that I guess for me doesn't necessarily like leave whether or not I'm like working on it or not, because I think it's a very like imaginative process for me. It's like always rambling around in my body, in my mind, and I kind of like am always coming up with melodic ideas and words, and so I think really the best gateway into connecting with songwriting for me is voice notes, and just like muttering things into well, now I use my phone to do that, but just muttering things into my phone, um and then they kind of incubate from there.
Hmm. Now, was the phone because we're talking about what year are we talking about when you move out here to California?
Well, 2011.
Okay, so we're kind of seeing the coming of an iPhone. But voice notes
Before,
were
yeah.
not so much a thing at that point, I don't think.
Oh no, I was using a what's it called? One of those like little Sonys with the little cassettes. They were
Ah, yeah, 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 the
tiny ones.
micro recorder thing.
Yeah, like I
Mhm.
think I like heard maybe about like I think Tom Waits or someone used to do something like that. And when I read the like biography, I was like, oh, that's a cool idea to have one of those, kind of like some sort of reporter. But I just kept it mostly in my car because that's where like ideas found me for some reason, like in the worst times when I'm like in traffic or something like that. So I kept a little like recorder with me.
And is that where it tends to ideas tend to find you now still?
Yeah, I think when I'm driving, there's something that happens where I get really like it's a place where I am in a soft focus, of course, like on the road, but I'm also just kind of like daydreaming. And I feel like LA is kind of a perfect was at the time a perfect place for that because I was spending a lot of time in my car commuting around. And so yeah, yeah, a lot of songwriting in the car with no instruments, I would say.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is your process of when you go back and check what is on the phone nowadays, is that more or less the same sort of thing that you were doing with the tape recorder as well? Just sort of sifting through what was on there and whatnot?
I think so. I think it's easier to sift through now than it
Hmm.
was because I can like label it. A lot of times I just like label ideas with like emojis that like I feel like could work together or feel in a similar spirit and mood. So I'll kind of like mark them with like similar symbols that I feel like conjure up the spirit of what I was feeling at the time.
Hmm.
It's funny that it's emojis, but like sometimes there will be like a ghost and like a wand or something. Or like I was just thinking of one recently, a new song that I wrote, and it has a ghost and a wand. And like when I listen to the song, I'm like, it feels very kind of far removed from an emoji, but it is really funny that that was originally how it was marked. Yeah. Yeah.
And where do you usually gravitate towards after when sifting through these notes? Do you kind of have a guitar in hand? Where do you take it from the initial idea?
Sometimes I send them to friends and I'm like, what are the chords? Uh, or like what could be cool chords? Because I kind of feel like I write a lot. I will say I write a lot on bass. I really like writing on a bass because it gives you so much freedom for different types of chords or voicings or things like that. And I do really love, groove oriented music. So for me, like I write a lot on a bass. I think it just gives a lot of freedom for whatever you want to do on top of it, whether it's counterpoint or chord structures or no sort of chords. Like I just really love writing on bass.
Yeah, you're kind of sitting in that spot of it could be this and it could be that with the
Yeah,
bass. Yeah.
yeah.
Was the first release from this project? What was the very first release? Do you remember what that was?
Yeah, I did uh I had a self-titled record that I released under Jonny Kosmo in I think 2016.
Hmm.
Um and that was really fun. I think it was the first time I gave myself permission to kind of just do a lot of different things, such as like, hey, like I'm gonna write a happy song. Like I was like, I think I was informed by ideas that music really had to carry with it a lot of like depth and darkness. And I still, of course, love that type of music, but I kind of, it was the first time where I realized like, oh, like joy can also be a very deep emotive feeling to write about. I don't have to be writing about, I don't always have to be writing about conflict or challenges or existential dilemmas. I can also write about joy, and that can feel really playful and deep in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's if we're just looking at it from a grand scheme, it seems like there's way more songs being built off of the the despair, if you will, or
Yeah.
negative experiences, whatever that is. Why do you think that is though, Johnny? Why do you think that so many people are use that as the fuel rather than joy or happiness?
I mean, I think it's understandable given like a lot of the systems at play that like joy is something that is hard to access in our current, like, whether you want to call it political climate or
Let's get into it.
socioeconomic.
I knew we were gonna
Okay,
get into it, but yeah, I mean, first
like
8 minutes,
joy,
sure.
joy isn't the hardest thing to access, I would say, for folks. But historically, I will say that I think, you know, narratively, there's a story around like the artist of being like a troubled person or like dealing with hardship and writing about that. And I think that also, currently in the zeitgeist, it's always like artists are really positioned in needing to have a story
Mhm.
about the record that's coming out or something like that. And really like that's from a point of like capitalism and trying to like sell oneself. I mean, there's such heavy implications when we have to become brands or our own like yeah, our own sense of businesses as artists. And so I think like, hardship really sells. Joy doesn't really sell. You know what I mean? Like joy, those things aren't necessarily like marketable, but I think that like a lot of times, at least currently, what feels like marketable is the ideas of like specifically like self-reflection. Like I feel like it's very rare you get a lot of like reviews that are like, hey, this record just made me feel really good. that is like completely like you don't really read reviews like that, right? I like quite often I feel like you read reviews that are very like centered in um self-reflection, sort of, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Like I think that's beautiful. I just think that joy historically hasn't held as much of a place in the marketing of music.
Do you think that there's gonna be a switch at some point? It's like, yeah, we just want to hear joyful stuff and not so much the
I would hope
negative
that
stuff.
there's more both and. I mean, I think like music journalism is such a tough thing these days because I don't necessarily, I think it's just like everyone's under the system of like needing to figure out how to sell oneself or sell the thing itself. And I think, yeah, I don't think it'll, my hopes are that it just kind of becomes more of a both and.
Mm,
Like, I hope
hmm
people are more feel more free to kind of like expand the palette of like what they write about and also like yeah, like share uh joy with the world, things that bring them joy, you know.
hmm
Um they
I
can
don't I don't like it, but I understand what you're saying, Johnny.
they can coexist, you know. Yeah.
So with this freedom that you found with that first release, has that kind of just perpetuated throughout the years? It's 10 years now, right? You said 2016 and it's 2026?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it has. I think it's just grown in different directions. Like I think for me, like I like to use a lot of playful mediums to kind of maybe talk about uh different things like I'm observing that could have more of a darker palette. But I do think it's evolved in ways also just as a musician. Like I've become really interested in like arrangement ideas and like also um I think the thing that I like always am resisting is like the idea of like hey, like you don't necessarily need to like be linearly trying to achieve higher and higher quality sounding records or whatever as you go on. Like I feel like I'm like just as open to like making a record on a cassette or like on a 4 track than as I am like some sort of like hi-fi in a proper studio type thing.
Hmm
So like for me, I just am really interested in the energy that happens when I make a record. I feel like I'm in a fortunate position where like making records is like really fun for me. I don't really get anxiety doing it. Because I also like find like it just brings me a lot of generative joy. But I know for others, like making records and finishing them and deadlines and all that stuff, like causes so much anxiety. And I've never felt that way. So I think like it's evolved in that way too, where it's just kind of like I'll chip away at a record for like the record that's coming out, like that's been chipped away at for like close to 5 years, you know,
It's been in stitches, sure.
yeah, yeah. We really like we started recording that in like 2021. So like it's kind of like I just like to give myself that freedom to be like, hey, this is the pace at which this is supposed to go. And um yeah.
Letting it take its natural
Yeah,
shape, however long it takes.
totally.
Is there anything that does make you anxious about making music, though, Johnny? Is there anything that does kind of put you in that mindset as we were speaking of
Yeah. I
previously?
mean, I think releasing it always gives me a little anxiety, not because of like how it's received, but more just like the like it's my least I don't think it really gives me anxiety as much as just like my least favorite part, kind of. Like I kind of feel like I don't feel as a connection to the magic in the releasing of it. I'll say when I perform, usually the new music, that's when it kind of feels reinvigorated and like
Mm,
takes on a whole new spirit, like when I play it live with the band. And oftentimes I'm like, oh, I'd love to re-record this record again, like now that I've been playing it with the band in a completely different way or something like that. Cause like different people are doing different things or there's different ideas that happen. but I do think that like, yeah, I'd say like releasing it like that point of like, hey, it's the release of the record, or like singles, or like, right, like that type of stuff like doesn't necessarily like invite as much magic for me. um uh I'd say like organizing rehearsals gives me anxiety. So like there's that piece too. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You usually do perform with a number of people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For the album release, we're doing it with like a full orchestra. So I think that's what I'm kind of talking about right now. It's
So
been like
you're cutting down on this one. I understand. Like
yeah, cutting down. No, yeah, we usually play with a big ensemble. I actually it was funny because I think like I also I haven't performed in about, gosh, like a year and a half, and I used to do it a lot more, and I think there's something about it being a muscle. Like when you're organizing things a lot, you're like, but like now I like do not having done it in a while, I'm just like, oh my God, like sending multiple texts is like driving me like crazy, where it's like I really used to do this all the time, but for some reason now I have the capacity has diminished over the year. So yeah.
you being a composer now, that's kind of interesting, kind of being a Leonard Bernstein of sorts now. Changing the pace a little bit there.
Yeah, well, I can't say I like take credit for the comp. I mean, this most recent record I worked on with a dear friend named Max Whipple, who is a like composer, arranger, like incredible person. Like he played bass on the record, but he did all the arrangements for the strings and horns. This was like the first time where we really like, where I was really like had like invited someone to do that in the
Hmm.
process. I really trusted Max with it, and the arrangements are just so good. And I'm so excited on it. Max has his own band called Duck, which is incredible, which is very like arrangement heavy music, and he's an amazing musician, and it was so cool to work with him on this record, and I'm like so grateful.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
is that's kind of the first time that you brought somebody into the process deeper than they usually were on
for
previous
sure, on
releases?
the arrangement end, definitely, because usually I'm just like messing with ideas like on a piano and MIDI, and kind of like handing some sheet music sometimes to people, and they're like, this makes no sense, like let me fix this a little bit. But this time it was like very like particular. Like he had all the charts, the people came in, they crushed it, and yeah, it's really really cool to hear my songs with like orchestration on them, and like, so this record is definitely very heavy arrangement record. Yeah.
And how will that work bringing those into a live aspect outside of this release? Or
Yeah.
is it just gonna change like every song, even on pastry? I'm assuming that some
Yeah.
songs just change and
Yeah.
some
I
get
think
filtered
it'll
out
just
and filtered in and whatever.
yeah, I think it'll just I haven't really thought beyond the release show right now, but I think it'll just probably just change and take its own shape in a cool way, which is kind of like the point and really fun. I don't think like the songs are necessarily dependent on the strings and arrangements being in them. They're just kind of like amplified in a way. I think I was really inspired by like, like ELO, Jeff Lynne type of arrangements for this record. So it's kind of like, yeah, this record feels a little more like rock leaning than like I have done in the past, and I'm kind of like psyched on that. Um, and yeah, so I think it'll just continue to evolve.
Hmm. Oh, Johnny, there. Oh,
I
I thought that it just froze.
froze for a second.
You're just kind of
My
like,
brain, I just went,
oh,
yeah.
make me nervous, man. Um, Do you try to make music kind of reminiscent of what you like to listen to though? Is that kind of, or do you kind of stray away from I like to listen to this, but I make this?
That's interesting. I listen to so many different types of music that I wouldn't say that I try to necessarily make music that I like listening to. I really try to stay away from like the idea of references. Like even,
Mm,
I mean, I think in hindsight, I was like, oh, this feels like a lot of ELO based stuff. But like when I'm recording or writing songs, I try not to like, I'm not like, I want to like, oh, this groove feels like what I'm looking for. Or I'll like listen to it, put on a record or something. But I think that like these days, I've been listening to a lot of like really, really like acoustic, like really soft, quiet music. And my music is not like that at all, really. So like I yeah, I think like right now it's kind of far from it. But I've been listening to just like a lot of like solo acoustic singer songwriter stuff these days. And so yeah, I kind of feel distant from that in my writing, but that's what I've been into.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think how would that kind of work if you were a doing that sort of a thing in a live setting, just you and a guitar with these songs? Do you think that
Yeah.
that would produce something different?
I'd probably play them very differently. Like I've
Mhm.
done that before and like I just play the songs very differently. Sometimes like not even the same chords. Like I like keep the same lyrics because the words like matter to me, but I'll just like completely change the chords. Like I've taken a song that was more like I remember this once that's like very more like jazzy prog type soul song. And then when I played it just with a guitar, I kind of just like made it a blues. And like I kind of like liked that. Like it's fun to take. I always find this that it's fun to take your own lyrics and kind of like be like, okay, now that I really feel like I live in the world of these lyrics and I'm like used to singing them and I don't have they just like are like a muscle inside of you. Like I just like will like sit with a guitar and then just like sing in different melodies over different chords.
You're changing melodies too. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like melodies, all that. And it's just kind of like, oh, like I could play it this way. I remember once I actually when I did like a solo thing, I just played bass and sang. And I just was kind of like freestyling it. I kind of was like rapping almost. I was just kind of like uh yeah, so I like really honestly suggest that to people in general, like open invitation, like take your song and like just keep the words that the ones you feel really connected to, if it's a song you feel really connected to and the words specifically, like and then just like freestyle play over some chords and sing different melodies and see what comes out because I've changed a lot of songs that way as well.
Hmm. When are lyrics kind of coming into the picture for most songs? Is that earlier on in the development, or I mean, and this is kind of a question that has many different answers to it, but is it kind of coming along in the process, or are you kind of writing stuff out when it feels right and then kind of bringing them in like, oh, this might work for this or whatever it may be?
Yeah, it's always so different.
Hmm.
Sometimes it starts with words, sometimes it starts with a melody. A lot of times, like I'll have melodic ideas in the like changes or the bass changes and stuff, and I'll like just kind of like free flow some like vowels or whatever, like over it, and whatever feels like good in my mouth, kind of. But sometimes it's like as soon as I put words in those vowels, it like doesn't feel as good or something. Like sometimes I kind of wish I could just do songs that were just kind of like wow, yeah, like just kind of like gibberish. I've never done that actually, but I think sometimes there's a contract that like we make with language that never quite feels right. I don't know if I've ever quite felt the same way or gotten across through language like what I kind of like feel initially in writing a song, which is, I think that's also just like where I'm at as a songwriter. Like maybe there will be a point where I feel really connected to um that contract that we make with language, but I haven't quite gotten there yet, I don't think.
Do you think that it's it would be the same case if you had learned like French or something or Spanish or another language entirely? Do
Yeah.
you think that that would help with trying to convey these emotions
Yeah,
through words?
maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it's interesting because I actually, it's like in a meta way, I wrote a song about this on this record, which is like kind of like basically goes through different ideas of like, it's like, I'm trying to tell you this thing, but I can't find the words, and then I'm drawing pictures, but I can't tell it through pictures, and then I'm like cooking a pie, but I can't tell you through this pie, and like it's like this experience of like really trying to communicate something, but like never quite figuring out like how to connect what is like in your soul to like outside. And I think there is something because I speak Spanish like pretty well actually. Like I would consider myself like if I were in a Spanish speaking country and speaking it all the time, I feel like I would immediately be able to get really, really good. But there is something with Spanish that's interesting because you do have, at least where I'm at with it, I do have to be really intentional about what I'm saying. So I think there's like a good point there that like I do have to like think more in this way that doesn't feel as like soul oriented yet in my relationship to Spanish. Um
It's going through another filter.
yeah, that's interesting to think about though. Yeah.
Next album.
Next album Spanish. Yeah. I mean, I'm down. Yeah.
Now, going back to In Stitches, how will you feel about this in a week when this album is finally out? It's been 5 years, right? In the making,
Yeah.
more or less. Will that feel like okay, we're done with this? Kind of like a good feeling of like on to the
Yeah.
next, or
Yeah, I think it'll feel like a really good, just like closing and opening of a door at the same time. Like I feel like then it's gonna get performed and that'll be a whole nother experience. But I do feel like it'll put a nice little like bookmark in a passage of time that I was writing about. And I am really excited for it. And I was just so psyched that, you know, that Sun Crew wanted to put it out. And they actually, he has a record store in Burbank that he just opened. So it'll be like, we're doing a little display there of it, which is fun. Um, Kind of like 90s style, like record display. And so I'm psyched on that. There's also going to be a cardboard cutout of me, which is cool. And yeah, I'm excited about it.
that's awesome. Does this kind of give you more energy to go, okay, let's start putting out some more stuff as well? Or do you kind of
Totally.
okay.
Yeah, I just finished another record that I'm really excited on too. Um, that was also, I mean, this is the type of thing I just kind of like write all the time and kind of put stuff together that I feel like feels like, yeah, feels like meshes. So I do really love just making records and working on music. And so I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited for this one to come out.
How long does an album stay new for until it's like, okay, now this is part of just it's another song in the discography?
Oh, like I don't know. It just varies, you
Hmm.
know. It just varies. Um yeah, like last night I was working on some music in the studio. I was like working on a song and I was like realizing like I kind of was like, oh, like, hey, it's kind of fun to like have no plan. And I feel like as I've gotten older, like that feels more accessible to me. Like I just don't want to plan for anything around art, really. I think that's like the true freedom. Um, I don't know. I think
I
I'm,
like it. I That's what I know, Johnny. I like it. Yeah.
yeah.
Just kind of working without borders.
Yeah, like I just don't I'm really trying to stay out of any sort of results. Like I think when I stay out of results, it's like the best thing for like not only myself as an artist, but just as a human. Um, and so yeah, I mean, I already feel so grateful for what this life has given me. And I think I'm just kind of like everything else is just like, you know, great. If something happens, then that's great. If not, then it's totally worth it. I mean, I think we all have our own challenges, but I think that like I feel very like fortunate to just be making music, specifically in a city like LA, where I just have so many friends who are so talented and
There's a lot of good people out there. Yeah.
just have fun and like part of like a really great community of people who just like support one another and like also just like challenge one another and push on the limits. And I feel like I'm like become such a better artist because of them, you know?
Yeah. How do you describe the music that you make to people who have not heard it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very like playful music. I think it kind of like has a little bit of like a winking quality to it where it's like it's kind of like winking at you in this way that feels almost like playful but serious at the same time. Um uh I'd like to think that people who connect with my music like feel some sort of embodiment through listening to it. I know that's been my experience in the feedback of performing that a lot of people come up to me and they're like, wow, it really made me feel good, like in my body. And that feels like an amazing thing to be able to offer someone um, in a glimpse of a moment. Um, yeah.
Is there a specific performance that you've seen that really made you feel that way?
Oof. So many. I think honestly, what immediately came to mind was seeing Pavement on the reunion tour that they did like a few years ago. Those shows were fucking amazing. I think it also just connected me with like my like high school self because I was obsessed with Pavement in high school. Um, but yeah, like those Pavement shows really rocked my body and spirit. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone else that comes to mind?
Yeah. I'd say more like um in a local sense, I saw a show the other night, performer named Frank Hurricane, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but
I'm not, but I like the name.
oh, definitely gotta get on the Frank trip. But Frank is an amazing storyteller and performer and definitely was carrying like a holy spirit during that performance and really, really, really lit me up. Yeah.
Is there a specific performance that you were on stage for that really resonates with you still?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to get so deep, Johnny, but
No, no, I definitely like there's a few performances that I'll like carry with me in like my book of like memories that I'll like always like look back on and remember. And I think the show we played a show at a dance studio mid city. It was an album release for like a live record I did. This was like think 3 years ago at this point, which is wild. But um, we, yeah, like the person who owned the dance studio owed me like a favor, and it was a beautiful room, and I was like wanted to do a show, but I couldn't get any venues to like return any emails about doing the show. So I was like basically booked this show at a dance studio so far away from like where a lot of people I know live. And it was such a magical show, like in so many ways. Like I don't, there was something in the room that night. It was crazy. It was so fun. And like, I think that that show will definitely live on for me as like one of the most like embodied ones. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's the kind of answer I was looking for, Johnny. Yeah.
There were
Did people
trampolines involved. It was crazy.
did people end up dancing as well?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
cool. Yeah.
Think there's something about that room, you're
Yeah.
expected to do so,
Yeah.
contractually obligated.
Yeah.
Wow. In terms of albums for you, Johnny, like yeah, maybe not so much now or maybe previously. Is there any album specifically that really resonated with you for a time?
I mean, God, I'm just gonna go with the first ones that come to mind so I don't have to think
Please.
about it too hard. But like Olivia Tremor Control, um, that first record blew my fucking mind, still does, was very inspirational for me. Um, again, Pavement, probably Slanted Enchanted. That one rips. In fact, like a lot of Steve Malcolm's solo stuff as well, like Real Emotional Trash. That one is a record that has always stayed with me. Definitely also like in a complete, well, not maybe a completely opposite direction, but uh like early Dead records, Wake of the Flood. That one always was, I listened to constantly. Also, I will say like um uh there's a Jonathan Richman country record that I
Oh
can't
yeah. The
of.
with him on the bus. So I
Yeah,
think
that
it's called
record. I
John Goes Country or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, Driving Goes
mhm,
Country. Yes,
mhm.
I love that record. Although, like, it's probably not like a favorite amongst like Jonathan heads. There's something about that record that I fucking love.
Yeah.
Um, and I listened to so much at one point. Um, what else am I really obsessed with? I mean, I bought a box set maybe like 6 years ago of Curtis Mayfield. It was like a CD, 6 CD box set, and it goes through like, the history of Curtis and has some stories. And I'm like kind of obsessed with Curtis Mayfield, and like even just like the way he tunes his guitar, like all that stuff, like was really inspired by his music. Um, and then, okay, one last one would probably be No Doubt Tragic Kingdom. That record rips, and I still listen to a lot, especially in Southern California. But hands down, like, was one of my early records that I really loved. And yeah.
Those are horrible picks, Johnny, but it's no, I was kidding. Those are really good.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of going back to you kind of having a separation from listening to music when you're making your music. At what point do you start to turn things on again and go, okay, like I can start kind of getting back into listening to some other music?
Yeah, I think it's like I don't necessarily not listen to music when I'm making it, but I think it's more just like I try to not be informed by anything. I try to just like sit in the spirit of what I'm feeling in the moment. But there are times where definitely like I'm like after a long day of in the studio, I don't want to listen to music. One, because my ears are fatigued, but two, just because like I know I'm in a zone and I don't want to like get rocked out of that zone. Cause I do think like what we listen to, no matter what, like informs us and what we're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or like whatever we're doing, eating, what we're eating in the studio, what we're like looking at. I mean, I try to keep my phone as far away from that zone as possible for that reason as well.
Yeah. I think next album, Johnny, full phone, phone in there, blaring
Just
music from the
fully
phone.
dive in. Yeah, I can see that. Hey, I'd welcome that. I'd welcome that.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the process. We'll make a documentary about it. That'd be good. Get some cameras in there, get some phones in there.
Totally. Yeah.
How do you feel about people documenting performances, like your performance, and you see it later on? Do you enjoy seeing that? Do you not enjoy seeing it so much on stage, like with the phones?
Oh, yeah, it's kind of distracting.
Hmm.
But then I do like seeing it just because I like to like actually like live it maybe again, like in a different way. It is distracting though. I mean, I do find like it's hard like enough just being up on a stage and like feeling that weight of like, whoa, like there's this just like you're performing and so yeah, I mean, I think it's a hard ask to be like, unless you're like Dylan or something who's like they take your phone in a pouch, which is cool, like right on. But like, yeah, I don't know. It can be distracting, but I'm not too, I'm like, people are just doing them, you know? Yeah.
You don't like that, and we're gonna change that, right?
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see what you're doing, and I don't approve of it, so we're gonna
Yeah,
change.
yeah, yeah.
Um, in addition to music, I do want to get into this as well. You also have Scribble. This I don't know what you would call it. It's an event space. There's therapy offered there, but this is a thing. I think that this is launched since the last time you were on here. I wanna
Yeah.
shed some light on that too.
Yeah, so Scribble is a nonprofit counseling center and event space. And basically the mission is to provide, affordable, high quality mental health care and access to education and mutual aid services, all under sort of one roof. Um, I'm extremely proud of what, the team has created. It's a huge team effort. Um, yeah, we currently see about 350 people a week out of the counseling center, and have, over 30 therapists, um, 14 supervisors, whole venue team of employees. But yeah, it's a really amazing project and I'm really proud of it. And It's really, really like helping people and like, when I hear that people are like, some of, our clients are homeless and they're finding like services or even finding housing through going to an event or something like that, I'm like, it's all worth it, like, so I'm really, really psyched on what we're doing over there.
Yeah. How did you get into therapy? Just in a broad sense, Johnny. When did that kind of bite you?
Yeah, well,
That bug.
I was working doing overnight, like I work graveyard shifts, like 11 p.m. to 7 p.m., helping people detox off of drugs and heroin. And I'd just stay up all night smoking cigarettes with them. And I honestly had no idea like that I had no ambitions of like I want to be a therapist. Like if I'm 100% honest, like I was like I just want a way to be able to fund making records. And so I was like maybe this will help me make some money to do so, but it became much more than that for me very quickly as soon as I started kind of diving in and reading and learning more about, psychotherapy and its history. And I I think like, although it started with just kind of like me, it just started with me really like wanting to, or just a natural feeling of connecting with people over smoking cigs, I think. And then like someone at the place was the one who like encouraged me. They were like, hey, like, you should be working the daytime. Like, you're really good with people. Like, it's great that you stay up all night with people who are like vomiting and like having a hard time, and that's awesome. But like, have you ever thought about, doing other things? And I think at the time I thought of like, you know, my identity as a therapist and as a musician, they were always like intertwined and linked. But I think up until about, 5 years ago, I kind of like hadn't made as much of an intentional um, meshing of the two, which is something that kind of Scribble is like the embodiment of. Um, and so for me, it was just kind of like a place that I wanted to see happen. And like, I honestly didn't expect there to be such a response to it. Um, but I'm really glad that we've been able to help a lot of people, and that's really what it's about. And yeah, it's a much, it could be a huge conversation, because I think the ways in which it's informed how I think about songwriting has changed a lot too. Um, and yeah, I'm just, again, just so proud of the project and so grateful for the people who have believed in it and wanted to be involved.
That's fantastic, man. If there is any key aspect of that, like of how that has changed your relationship with therapy and with kind of combining that with music, if there's anything that comes to mind immediately, Johnny, I would love to hear it personally, and nobody else is here to say no. Please, sir.
Well, I just think, I think that something that I've learned through Scribble is how people are really feeling like they really wanna make a dent in this world. And I think something that I've thought a lot about is like how, at least speaking for like myself and growing up with my generation, is like that, like, you know, we I think we're sold this idea that like art is successful art is linked to the idea of legacy,
Mm,
that like somehow like what we're creating will live on or connect with people, or like that, like, and I think for me it's like, how can art just be in the moment? How can just having an idea in itself be enough? Like, why do we have to be good at why do we have to be good at things? Like, why do we have to be good at everything like that we do? Why is it that like, even as a musician, and I'm not, listen, I am not exempt from this, but like, I think this idea that like we have to become better and better at something um, can get in the way, of like true freedom and access. And I'm not knocking having goals, having aspirations, wanting success. All those things are so great, so important. But I think it's important to root those in the context of a capitalist environment and society that is inviting this idea of constantly bettering oneself, whether it be at art or just even as a human being. Um, when we turn ourselves into projects, what sorts of, at what cost, and so for me, a lot of how that's influenced my songwriting is just allowing myself the freedom to just kind of like have it be enough. Even if I write a song in my head and I forget it, wow, what a cool thing. Like, that feels great to me. I don't need it. I try to remind myself I don't need things to come to fruition in a physical sense for them to matter. And so I think that's informed my songwriting a lot, because a lot of times in the past, I think I would kick myself for forgetting ideas or not finishing a song or but like I firmly believe that like everything is leading to something else, and that like we just have to pay attention to like where the energy is pulling us. um so all that to say, I think that like for me, I'm trying to invite both myself and like the people I work with in the spaces of like liberation and freedom from ideas that kind of constrict. And I think one of those is like, yeah, like what it means to finish something, what it means to release something. Um, uh, and how do we kind of break free from these like really rich ingrained ideas around success and what success means, um, that has kind of been informed by systems that don't really work for us and don't align with our values. Um, so that's kind of, yeah, some of what I've been thinking about.
I don't like that at all, Johnny. No, I'm just kidding. That's very nice. Um, what is success for you? What is that that definition of success for you?
In life or just in general, like in general, or like, I mean, I don't, I think these days I like, I feel like, I mean, I feel like there's this a couple stories in my life where I feel like I already peaked. Like I feel like everything else is just kind of like sugar on top, really. Like I don't like things that happen that are great in a success form don't mean as much to me as like sharing a meal with a friend or something. So I feel like, and I know that that's a really privileged place to be, by the way. Like I know that that is like not everyone's circumstance, but I feel like for me, I've
Well,
been,
I was asking about yours, Johnny. Yeah, if
yeah,
that's yours, yeah, man, that's
yeah,
great.
like I feel like it doesn't mean that I don't have like goals and aspirations, but like they're not in the way of like success. They're in the way of like, hey, if that happens, that would be really amazing. But I do feel like for me, what is more meaningful is like, you know, like just staying connected to people in a way that feels like, how are we going to get through all this together right now? And like that's what matters to me. And so I try to stay rooted in that. On my best days I am. On my worst days I do get pulled into like, why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? But I really quickly these days can come back to like, hey, like I feel really good about like where I'm at. And getting back to just music and records, it's like I make them because it's what I like to do and it's fun, period. I have no like, I want to continue to evolve as an artist, but I trust that that happens because I live life. Um,
Mm,
and
mm-hmm.
so like that feels like something that is just part of my values as like as a songwriter. Like I live life, and I look at like the stuff I create as like chapters along the way, you know. When I look back at that first record, I'm like, wow, I was in a completely different place, you know. And so I think it's just like we continue to evolve one foot in front of the other.
I like that one, Johnny. I'll be honest, I like that one. How do you feel about the with the explosion of like online therapy? How do you feel about that? Do you think that there's something lost when it's online and not face to face?
Well, I think there's amazing things that can come from online therapy, such as like making it more accessible to those in rural areas, specifically within marginalized communities or the queer community. Like, you know, those living in rural areas might not have as many resources in terms of uh, some of the things that challenges they're facing. I also think that, you know, remote therapy, telehealth therapy allows one to be in their own environment, which there's a lot of great things that can come from that. I mean, I could be talking to you and I noticed there's a huge cassette collection on your wall, and
It's
I'm
AI. It's AI.
that's a fake background.
This is
Um,
all, yeah.
yeah, yeah, but like I can ask about that, and
Yeah.
we there's more of a show and tell aspect. But yeah, I'll say that's also it's harder to read maybe energy um,
Right.
through screen. But I think some of the things I might worry about is, you know, therapy turning into kind of like an Uber service,
Mm,
with things like BetterHelp and things like that. Although, I'm sure have helped many people. My experience has been that um, a lot of the feedback that I get or clients that come to Scribble following that is that, there's this idea that therapy is just turning into kind of like another tech service. And that's something I do worry about. Like, should we be concerned about that? Should we be thinking about that in ways with curiosity and critically? Because what happens again when we start treating ourselves as projects and also kind of like trying to take the kind of quickest, easiest route to something.
hmm
And also not to mention that like, the quality of care on these services has, been not so great from what I've been hearing. So I do wrestle with that. I think in terms of like remote sort of services is like what are we moving towards when it becomes just another tech service? But that has more to do with like those sorts of systems than like remote therapy itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That was a very therapist way to answer that, Johnny. And um,
I love thinking about this stuff.
yeah. Well, and to that point, do you think that something is lost when you're watching or there's something different when you're watching a live performance of a concert and you're not physically there at that point as well?
I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, I think again, there's like kind of like a both to that. Like, I think that
Mhm.
like remote being able to watch like a show from your couch is like also about a great thing that addresses accessibility. I mean, not everyone can show up to a venue, especially like immunocompromised folks or folks who like have trouble standing for long periods of time where there's like no seating or like any sorts of those reasons. It really makes it more accessible to people to be able to watch and feel maybe a part of. Um, but I think it's a different experience. I mean, I know watching a show that I've done from my couch is completely different than being in the room. Sometimes I mean, I think sometimes also like being in a room at a concert, like it can feel so overwhelming and overstimulating. And so like there are aspects that I love about watching, shows from home. And I've definitely done that before. Um, yeah, so I think it's both and.
hmm
Yeah.
Good answer. I mean, we're batting like 1,000 so far. Um, what drives you to create new music, Johnny? I know that's kind of a bigger question, and we kind of touched on it, but is there anything that is like a force that is driving this or continues to drive you?
Well, I think for me, it's like almost like life force energy that needs to go somewhere. Like there's energy that needs to go somewhere. Now, I think that music is the thing that I found. I could have very easily found, carpentry or like, I mean,
A
like
painting or some other medium?
surfing, painting. For some reason, music was the thing that found me that felt like that was where the energy goes. So I think like it is kind of like an emptying of the pocket. You like I have to empty my pockets every now and then, both literally and physically. I mean, I am the type of person who stuffs endless shit in my pockets, but I think that's kind of how I view it, is like it's like an emptying of the vessel. And so yeah, it's more of an energy exchange than anything. I mean, I think maybe at some point in my life it won't be music. I don't know. That's just where it's been for a really long time.
I like it. Johnny, I really appreciate coming back on here, sir.
Thanks for having me.
But before I let you go, we got the promo to do. So
Sure.
In Stitches is out today, um,
Hey.
via Sun Crew. Now, speaking about it now, a week from when this gets out, what is there a song that you're most excited for people to hear from this album that's not out yet?
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for people to hear Street Flower Spell, which is a song I did with Marina Allen and Jasper McMahon.
Oh wow, yeah. All
That's
right
on
on.
there. Yeah, it's a really great song. They go by Dream School as a project together,
Oh
but we
cool.
wrote
Okay.
that song together, and it was really fun, and I'm excited for people to hear it.
Please go back and listen to Marina's episode after this. She's a great, great, great
Oh,
singer.
cool.
Right on. Yeah. So yeah, please go and buy that. It's there's the vinyl and digital release through the Bandcamp, which is at Jonny Kosmo dash Sun Crew, and one more time that's CRU.bandcamp.com, and that'll be linked below. So you can just follow that link right below whatever you listen to this on, and everybody can stay up to date with news and shows and tours and all this good stuff by following you on Instagram, right, Johnny? That's the best place to stay
Yeah,
up to date with all that.
yeah.
And it's at Jonny Cosmo on Instagram. Um, yeah, and Scribble offers therapy and hosts events in Los Angeles, and people can go to the website, right? That's kind of the best place that we can send.
Yeah, yeah. www.scribblecommunity.com.
Perfect. And people could follow the Instagram as well, which is at scribble.community for more details as well. And did we miss anything, Johnny?
I don't think so. Covered a lot of ground.
Thank you very, very
Yeah,
much.
thank you so much.
One more time, In Stitches is out now. Please go stream it. Go buy the vinyl. And yeah, Johnny, you're the man. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Jacob.
I'm gonna stop recording this and I'll talk to you in a minute, all right?
All right.
All right.